25 at 700 WLW. Rich Hoffman, who is one of the warriors out there who led the fight to stop the Lakota school levy last time around, will be joining us at 10:33. Tomorrow is B Day, as they're calling it, in the Lakota district, the day that busing stops and parents are going to have to drive their kids to school, and or the kids are going to have to walk a couple of miles to the school. Oh, Lord. I guess there's some there are rumors of threats happening to business owners as well in the area as Lakota gets ready for another school levy. We'll talk to Rich about that at 10:33 this morning. I noticed last week the Forest Hill School District, where I live, has decided not to put a levy on the May ballot. They were claiming they were broke just a few weeks ago. Really, they're unsure. Too many unknowns, they say, exist to put this on the ballot, and maybe one of the unknowns is my outspokenness over these school levies, especially in Forest Hills. The big levy that was talked about a lot this past election was Lakota, that went down to defeat at the hands of this one man, Rich Hoffman. Rich, good morning.
Good morning. Good to speak to you again.
All right, Rich, tomorrow is what you're calling B Day in Lakota School District, which means the first day without buses.
It's B Day. It's a day that thousands of people are going to be inconvenienced, launched onto crowded streets, and kids are going to walk in the extreme cold to school because the school system thinks it's wise to attack 2% of the budget instead of 75% of the budget.
Let's say that again.
The school system believes it's wise to attack 2% of the entire budget, which is what the busing and transportation costs
Following you. All right. Instead of the
as opposed to 75%, which is what your salaries, wages, and other things that have been talked about, what they are as a cost into your total expenditures.
Now, how mad are parents at you in that district, Lakota schools?
Furious, and I have to say, I wasn't the only person involved in bringing. There's a lot of people behind me to bring that thing down. I could have done it by myself, but since I'm the kind of the face of it. There's been some serious fury in my direction, which is, we've talked about that before, which is fine because that's what it takes sometimes to get a discussion on the table, especially when there's so many interests there to keep it off the table.
When people see you, for instance, shopping at Kroger, what are they saying to you?
No, they don't say anything to me personally. They just kind of ignore me and don't say anything.
What kind of emails are you getting?
Pretty nasty ones. They're not as bad as they were when it first started, because they found out that I'll promote them in some way. I'll put them on that blog, or I'll put them somewhere so people can see them, so we can show a pattern of behavior. So now it's very carefully worded. A lot of the things that are sent to me are done in legalese.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, the levy went down to defeat in November in that district, and not, what's going to happen here moving forward? Of course, it never stops. It'll be another levy.
Well, yes, we were wondering exactly what the plans were. It's been pretty quiet. The school board has sort of danced around it. They're doing this busing cut to sort of make it appear that they're doing everything they can to cut costs. And then when that comes out and parents are upset, sometime next month, and they would say, listen, let's put this back on the ballot and see if the voters are ready to go for it again. You don't know that that's what's going on, but as you mentioned in your talk during the last half hour, there have been some utterances of what the overall strategy is, and that was a threat to a business. And I'm sure this isn't the only isolated incident. The reason we found out about this one is because she's sort of connected to our group through other political means.
Now, you were talking about specifically a bar owner here in the area, in the Lakota School District, a woman that doesn't even live in the district.
Right.
Receiving some, I read your blog here, and I wouldn't say if this happened, I wouldn't say that it was a threat, but I would say that there was some coercion happening there.
Exactly. It's all in a gray area.
Right. So explain that, would you?
Well, you want me to use the names? Or
honestly, at this point, I would prefer not. I just don't want to. I don't want to get you into trouble.
Yeah,
and libel people. All right. So, but just explain in general what tends to be going on here.
Okay. Basically, owner of a bar and grill located close to the Lakota East received a call from Cherokee Elementary's PTA president, no, vice president, sorry. And basically, this owner was informed that the business was going to be boycotted. Now, this is a kind of a family-oriented atmosphere. It's a community bar and grill. It's not so much. It's a sports-oriented bar, but it's intended for
casual. It's a casual restaurant. It's not a tavern. It's a casual restaurant, right? And
so she's trying to appeal to the whole gambit of Liberty Township and Westchester demographics. She certainly was trying to stay neutral on this whole issue. But she gets a call saying that, well, because you support the No Lakota people, you're going to be boycotted, which she was very upset about. Did a little probing, did a little asking, and found out that the principal of an elementary school made the request to tell this owner that she was going to be boycotted. Because apparently there was an email floating around that right prior to the election, State Representative Bill Cooley had bought an ad that was very much for the levy. However, a lot of the people who funded his campaign were also against the levy.
Yeah, but
so the money wasn't supposed to be used both ways. So anyway,
Rich, but I'll argue this is just politics.
Right. Well,
I don't see anything really awful here yet. This is just politics. This is how it operates.
Exactly. Well, anyway, this email with everybody's heading, she was included because she sort of we wanted her to know about where the money was spent. So that email ends up in the hands of this principal, and then that's how the assumption was made. So she's not even able to vote in the district, but she's been accused of it. So now there's a boycott threatened in her direction because of her association with us over other political matters. Mm-hmm. And it kind of gives you an idea how the game is played, I guess you might say.
All right. Now, Rich, tomorrow the parents in Lakota, this is going to be the first day that they're, how shall I say it, inconvenienced because they're going to have to bus their kids or drive their kids to school. In many cases, some of the parents have to drop their kids off to numerous schools.
Right.
So, as you and I both know, when it comes to school levies, politically, one of the great things that proponents of levies will do is, they'll cut busing because it inconveniences parents. So the next time they go to vote, they're going to remember being inconvenienced, and hopefully they'll change their tune. So the next time this levy comes up for a vote, do you expect a closer election, so to speak? Well,
that's the belief. I mean, that's the statistical pattern that you see. Is that these little methods, and the reason I brought the whole thing with this bar owner is because there's a pattern that exists at many different levels. And basically it's financial hardship. It's a threat that we'll throw financial hardship in your direction so we'll get, 2, 3, 4 more percentage points of votes the next time. Mm-hmm. So those of you that are firm on this, we won't get you, but those who are on the fence or not really sure, those are the ones that they'll get. And that's what these methods are designed to bring out in people. So in case she was for it, or anybody else in that matter, if they're for it, the idea is to put them out of the political way so that these methods, these busing cuts, can work.
Well, that's bad. It's always about the inconvenience, and it's never about doing what is right, and that is restructuring their budget. In this case, Lakota schools. Well, Rich, remain vigilant because we're counting on you, not only in Lakota but in other school districts around Ohio.
Absolutely. The battle lines are drawn, and we're headed down the field 10 yards at a time.
All right. Rich, have a wonderful week.
You too. See ya.
All right. We have to remain vigilant. Now, Rich is an individual that has devoted a lot of time to this because he's passionate about the issue. He wants funding change. And a lot of people ask why I'm so against these school levies, because it's unfair to fall upon property owners the funding for schools. And time again, In numerous court cases going back to the 1930s, the way schools are funded in the state of Ohio have been proven to be unconstitutional. And that is why. So Rich, passionate. He's a passionate guy, and there's a lot of hate heading toward Rich from a lot of parents in that school district. Jeff writes to D. Parks, 700WLW.com. He says, financial hardship or inconvenience has not worked in the Little Miami school district. Lakota parents, here's a message for you. Gas up the pacer. You're in for a long haul. To Lebanon, here's Sandra, 700WLW.
Hi, Darryl. We're putting together a forum this coming Thursday, the 20th, on school choice, and we've been working on putting this together for over a year. And we're having Jeff Reed from the Foundation for Educational Choice. It used to be called the Milton Friedman Foundation. Mm-hmm. And he's going to come and speak and answer questions that parents may have of how to have an option for government schools. And there are several things we can do about that.
Well, give me a couple.
Well, for example, there could be a deduction on the income tax to pay for your share of your child's tuition, or there could be several different things. A voucher system, they're trying that out in different states. The governor of Indiana is going for school choice right now and trying to put that through. So we wouldn't be under the auspices of constantly being told what to do by the government school system. I mean, we have no choice right now unless we want to pay for tuition ourselves. And I think the competition would just create options that would improve education. Our state tests are going down, and when you compare the tests of our kids to people in other countries, we've gone down to like 24 out of, which is below the half mark.
Yeah, there's so much government regulation when it comes to schools. This is, and people don't realize it. One of the things that ought to be abolished in Washington is the education, and this ought to go to states.
Straight to the states.
This is totally our responsibility as citizens of Ohio or Indiana or the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Exactly right. And I think when the parents have a choice based on the quality of the school, not your address or where you live, then it will only improve. Competition works in every other business. Why shouldn't it work with the school?
Well, the unions don't want competition.
They don't. And they have actually had these laws put in that have created tenure, all these days off. I mean, when you figure out how many days they're actually working, it's probably just over 6 to 7 months. When you consider they're able to buy out those days when they leave and give them a payout. I found out that our superintendent is getting $650 a month just for a car allowance.
Well, Sandra, here's the problem with public education, and you're kind of hitting on it, but I'm going to be more pointed on this. The problem with public education is it's big business. And there's an endless supply of money flowing into public education that is, I'm using this term loosely, but is corrupting public education.
Exactly right.
Yeah. All right, Sandra, have a wonderful week.
Thank you, Darryl.
All right,
Bye.
Take care. Sandra's a tax killer in the Lebanon school district. See, Sandra is a tax killer there. I'm a tax killer in Forest Hills. And Rich is the tax killer at Lakota.